Last night, Sterling Sharp got named to the 2025 Hall of Fame class, and all I gotta say is it's about dang time. To wish him good luck and to show your support for him, go ahead, like today's video. So Jordan Love did his rounds yesterday on Radio Row at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and things did not go quite as ballistic or, I don't know, seismic as they did when Josh Jacobs went on a couple different talk shows, but he still had some really good, really interesting things to say. And what he said in an interview is actually what we're going to be talking about on today's show. He got asked this question: what would your thoughts be on adding Tee Higgins in NFL free agency? Love then responded with this. He went on to say, T is a phenomenal player. I know T pretty well. Like I just said, if you add a really good player to a really good offense, then I think that the sky is the limit. And he's not wrong, right? It's a very obvious thing that he's saying. It's a very obvious thing that he's stating. And it's obvious to see that he was a little bit more guarded, I'll say, a little bit more careful with the words that he was saying. I think after he saw the backlash of what Josh Jacobs was saying, I think he didn't want to go on and be the QB1 of a team and basically just go ahead and bury the wide receiver group again. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't feel the same way that Jacobs did, okay? And that doesn't mean that what he was saying about Tee Higgins, that he knows him, that he talks to him, and that he likes him, and that he also would make this team and turn this offense into a phenomenal offense, right? Adding a great player. That doesn't mean that none of that was true. And speaking of what Josh Jacobs said, right, it just kind of echoes that same sentiment. And I'm sure that's why the question was asked, because what Josh Jacobs did to that wide receiver room and honestly to social media just the day prior, saying, I think we need a guy that's proven to be a number one wide receiver already. So obviously when Jordan Love, just the day after Josh Jacobs, when he goes on all these talk shows, when he goes on all these podcasts, and it's his turn to answer all these questions, of course, they're going to ask him about what Josh Jacobs was talking about. Now, Jordan Love being Jordan Love, was a little bit more careful, like I said, with his words, a little bit more guarded, gave a little bit better of answers, but I still think him and Josh Jacobs share that same sentiment, and I think that Jordan Love, as well as myself, think that Tee Higgins might be the perfect addition to this Green Bay Packers team in 2025. What do you guys say, though? Let me know. Be the GM. Should the Packers sign Tee Higgins in this upcoming free agency? If you think yes, give me an S for sign. If not, give me a P for pass. I think that Tee Higgins would be a perfect addition to this team and to this roster, and not just because of his skill level, although it is incredibly high, especially when you look at what he's been able to do over the past 4 seasons, not even being that team's number one go-to wide receiver, okay? In his first 2 years, he clipped the 1,000-yard mark, got 74 catches in each, scored 13 touchdowns combined. This last year, just 12 games, almost hit 1,000 yards, right? Would have been the leading receiver in yards, leading receiver in catches, leading receiver in touchdowns. All of that on just 12 games. And I just believe that Tee Higgins and the Green Bay Packers, it would just be a perfect marriage, okay? You got Tee Higgins, and he's a guy in his career through the first 4 seasons. He's never been a wide receiver one. I don't think any of us blame him. I don't think there's any other wide receiver in the NFL that could be on that team and be a wide receiver one because of the asset that they have in Jamar Chase. Okay? So he's never been a wide receiver one. And now you have the Packers looking at him and saying, okay, we're a team that only has wide receiver twos with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed, right? And so that's why I think it'd be such a perfect marriage of the two of them, because they're juxtaposing each other. And then if they come together, both of their wishes could be fulfilled. Let's talk about the money aspect of it, okay, right? Because you could talk about how much you want a player till you're blue in the face, but if you don't have the money to get him to your team, then it's all a moot point, okay? So the Packers right now are sitting about $42.14 million in cap space, and PFF projects that Tee Higgins in the offseason will sign a 4-year contract worth $112 million. $67.5 million of that is guaranteed. Okay, so it's obvious that what the Packers have now, what they have readily available, would get the job done. Now, it would take up a lot of their cap space. A lot of their cap space would be devoted to that one player, bringing him in free agency. But in my opinion, I think that's worth it, okay? I think he wants to get paid like a top 10 receiver, but not at the top 10 of receivers, if you get what I'm saying. So coming up, Jordan Love. He's not the only one that thinks that Tee Higgins would be a great addition to the Green Bay Packers. We got another person with another network. I'll talk about that in just a second. But as you guys know, we are currently racing to 1,000 subscribers, and we are closer now than we ever have been before. Only 370 subs away until we get there. I got you covered on everything Green Bay Packers every single day. It's the best place to be on YouTube if you love Green Bay. So if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that sub button. So Byron Terry with TWSN had this to say on Tee Higgins with Green Bay. Bengals wide receiver Tee Higgins can work wonders as a Packer. In his career with Cincinnati, thus far, he's totaled 330 receptions for 4,595 yards and 34 touchdowns. In 2024 particularly, he caught 73 passes for 911 yards and 10 touchdowns. Even with the great season Chase had, T was still very productive in the Cincinnati offense. T is a big body receiver who can go up and get the ball and is difficult to guard in man coverage. People seem to think the Packers need a wide receiver one, and Tee Higgins can be that. With the addition of Higgins, Jordan Love can be an MVP candidate. And I could not agree more with anything Byron Terry's saying right there, because I look at this wide receiver room, and I love Jaden Reed. I love Romeo Doubs. I love Christian Watson, but I love them all as wide receiver twos or wide receiver threes. I don't love any of them to be the wide receiver one on this roster, because if that is the case, then I think that this Packers offense is capped off at a ceiling that it doesn't need to be. Okay? And I think T would jump in to this offense and automatically, I'm talking day one, be the wide receiver one on this team. Okay? His size, his speed, his athleticism, everything that he's done in his career points to him having the ability to be a wide receiver one for any team in the National Football League. I think he's the only free agent that's available that can be that. Okay, I think if you look at all the other wide receiver free agents in the league right now, a lot of them are past their prime, would still be great additions, would still be great depth, but there's none, in my opinion, other than T that can come into a place and take it over. And then you look at the draft, right? You look at other ways to add wide receivers, and outside of the top three with Travis Hunter, Tedero McMillan, Luther Burden, right? I don't know if guys like Emeka Ibuka, Jalen Royals, Savion Williams, Isaiah Bond, any of those guys, I don't know if they're year one wide receiver ones, okay? And with picking at number 23, I think Green Bay can get a true wide receiver. I don't think Green Bay can get a true wide receiver one, okay? I think adding Tee Higgins or trading for a different wide receiver, I think that is their only shot, okay? If you want to get one in the draft, I think there are three available, okay? Tedero McMillan, Travis Hunter, and Luther Burden. And I think you got to trade up to get those guys. I know you've got to trade up to get those guys. So if you don't want to spend that money on Tee Higgins, and you don't want to trade for a wide receiver one, and you want to get one in the draft, you're going to have to give something up to move up in it, okay? That's just plain and simple, because where you are at 23, none of those three guys are going to fall to you, okay? So I think Tee Higgins is worth it. I really do. I think that when you have the quarterback that you have, I think when you have the running back that you have, I think when you've got the supporting cast of receivers and tight ends and Tucker Kraft that you have, you just need one more thing to your offense. And then you have one of the most potent offenses in football, okay? So what say you? Can Tee Higgins be a wide receiver one? Because we're arguing about it, we're talking about it, we're discussing it, but we don't even know if he can. You let me know, comment section down below. Give me a yes, give me a no with your answer. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Packers Report. I really do appreciate every single one of you guys showing me love, showing me support. I've loved taking over this channel. Love giving you guys daily content on your favorite team in green and gold. Again, we're racing to 1,000 subscribers, so to help us get there, make sure to hit that sub button.